Welcome to the From Foster to Blank podcast, where we're highlighting former foster youth who have discovered their passion in life and creating their own purpose by redefining what success means to them. It's almost like a Where Are They Now podcast. Within every single story, we will see different people highlight what inspired them to change the direction of their life and how they achieve their own goals by redefining what success is. The best part is everyone is going to have a different definition of what success is, and we get to learn from them. The other neat part is that every single one of these people are going to highlight what they do, and they're going to give advice on how they got there. This is an educational podcast for people that are like you and me, foster care kids, but we're going to see it from a different lens of positivity. So here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the From Foster to Blank podcast. I have a very special guest on today. Her name is Jasmine. I'm going to have her take it away and tell us what she does.
So thank you for that introduction. My name is Jasmine Sanders. I am a journalist. I do radio and TV. Currently, I am the co-host of the nationally syndicated D.L. Hughley Show. We are on in about 87 markets across the country. We do afternoon drives. So if you're in the car, you just punch that dial and there I am acting crazy. But I do that. I also do some television. I do some entertainment correspondent. I do red carpets, you name it, I do it. But I also am a writer as well. So I've been working on a couple of screenplays and documentaries regarding foster kids, about my journey, mostly about other people's journey. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Okay, so I did not know this reaching out. I did not know all of this. So I'm kind of like, oh, I'm amongst the people. Like you're the person. Okay, so you've done journalism, you've done TV, you've done entertainment, red carpets, you write, and you've done documentaries. Oh freaking man, that's a lot. But what has that, like, how did you even get into that?
So, first of all, this is one of those, I tell everybody to listen to your spirit animal when you are a child. And if you didn't listen, it's not too late. Just tap back into that, because whatever it was that gave you passion as a child is probably what your calling is. You just have to tune into it. For me, I could not stop talking. It was necessary. It wasn't that I just wanted to be heard. I just needed to get these words out. And I had a fascination about books and words and how they worked and how it helped communicate. And my mama would say I was nosy. I called it inquisitive. And so I had a natural inclination to get to the bottom of a story and to tell it in my own way. And so I've always been very dramatic. I've always been a trier of facts, if you will. You can call it argumentative. I call it a trier of facts. And so when I went off to college, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I knew I had a love of music. I listened to it all the time. And my academic advisor said, you could be a journalist, you could be a radio or a TV personality. And I was like, they get paid? I mean, I used to listen to them on the radio, but I didn't know that they got paid. And he was like, yes. And so I studied broadcast journalism. I minored in speech and theater. And I came out of college with my bachelor's, and I was on a mission. I decided I want to work at the number one station in the market because I am worthy. And I went after it with gusto. I sat in the lobby for 2 weeks with no job. I would nickel and dime money up to get gas money to drive that 35, 40-minute drive each way. And I acted like that was my job. So I sat in the lobby, made friends with the receptionist. And within those 2 weeks, I got a job. And that was the beginning of my career.
I love that. Okay,
That's
so
a lot.
I love all of this, because I usually, when people are like, find your spirit animal, they're like, oh, it's a bear, or it's, like it's a panda. And you're like, no, like it's the passion that was in you as a child that says, I wanted to do this, but for some reason I told myself not to. I have heard so many people. I used to work in admissions, so I was coached like admissions for colleges.
I was coached to say things like journalism is dead. Acting isn't the route to go. And it didn't feel good inside to be like, let me talk you out of what your passion is. I have since flipped that because I'm all passionate about people finding their passions. So how did you rediscover like this is the route I actually want to go in, not just like with someone else telling you like, hey, yeah, you can go this route, but like, when did you really realize that like this is where I need to go?
Well, it's interesting. When I was in high school, I was a lover of Prince. Like I loved, he could do no wrong for me. Everything he did was genius. Now, was it really? Maybe depends on who you ask, but for me, I just loved him. And so the art of performance for me was really great. And I remember in high school, there are two occasions. One, probably in junior high school, where I felt this need to always be on stage. Now, I am not a singer, but you couldn't tell me that when I was younger. And so I would run up on stage and I would just start singing whatever came to my mind. And it was terrible and it sucked, but I realized that I needed to be in front of a lot of people. And so in high school, for our homecoming week, it was the stars come home to shine or something like that. And so they wanted you to dress up like your favorite star. And so I dressed up like Prince and I actually performed Let's Go Crazy and Purple Rain. And there was something about the ebb and flow of the crowd's energy and me and what I was giving them and what they were giving me that made me realize this is what I need. I feel that we are communicating in more than just talking. It was just this weird, I don't know. And so when I went to college and I was uncertain and I had the conversation with my academic advisor and I realized I can't sing, but I can talk and I'm a great storyteller and I can take any story, any word, any combination of words and turn it into this amazing performance piece that now becomes mine that I can recreate that same feeling that I had when I was in junior high school and then in high school. And so I just kind of matched up who I was on the inside with what was going on in the outside world in terms of how you make a check. And I figured, wow, these worlds are colliding and it gives me the opportunity to, I mean, you think about it on radio, you don't see the person. And so it is really up to them to have a way with words and telling a story that pulls you into whatever they're talking about. And so I thought, okay, well, if I'm not an actual actor, I kind of am, but I'm a radio actor. And so this is what I do. I tell stories and I make them come alive. If we're talking about, equations and chemical imbalances, and people are like, what? I can break it down and say, so this is what we're talking about. 1 + 1 is 2. You take away one, you back to one again. Like I can, and the art of that was something that came natural to me. And so, when he talked about those things and I was able to kind of reflect back over my relationship with my favorite on-air personality, I thought, oh, wow, they are an artist as well,
Mhm.
just in a different arena. And
Yeah,
so for me, it just matched up and I got on that carousel and never got off.
absolutely. And you keep saying this, and I think people need to hear this, is you saying I showed up as me, not you showed up as Prince. You imitated Prince, but you made it your own. And
Yes.
that is where I think we get lost, is sometimes we're trying to imitate people. And I heard I don't know her name, but she is an artist that says there are people who come in that are originals. They're the people who are leading the charge. They're the ones who sweat and bleed and hurt. And then there's the people who imitate them. And then there's the people who are just like, you just copied and pasted. So all you did was you replicated the replication. But you're saying I had to show up and know what I am and who I am and how I said it differently than somebody else. And that made your voice heard.
Well,
And
well, not only that, another great example is in radio, you have all of these different formats. You have
Mhm.
country, you have, rock, you have R&B, you've got hip hop, you've got mainstream, you've got, just AC. There are a ton of different things, right? And so I've had the pleasure and the blessing to be able to work in multiple formats. Now, what I learned very early on was I could show up as myself or I could show up and allow them to mold me into whatever fit in that format. The
Mm.
problem with that was, for instance, for me, I have, I mean, obviously now it's dope, but back then my voice has always been heavy and raspy and bass heavy. And I remember program directors saying things like, can you talk a little airy? Can you get rid of some of the bass and sound a little more like this? And I tried it because I wanted to keep my job. I wanted that check. And so I had to go to an um, ear, nose, and throat doctor because I began to develop issues with my vocal cords because it was unnatural.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, I said, you know what? This is the voice I was born with. Okay. I'm going to talk in it. I'm going to walk in it. And either it is what you're looking for or it's not. And
Yeah.
so I also realized that, wow, if he changed me and I changed for him, if I get hired somewhere else, they may change me to something else. And then on down the road, change into something else. And in the end, who am I? I've gone to all of these machinations of who I am, and I'm pretending to be all of these people. And so at that point, I said, you know what? I will show up as Jasmine, this beautiful Black sister, with this raspy voice. And either that's what you're looking for or it ain't. But at the end of it, when you are finished with me, I'm still me. I don't have to go looking for who I am. I don't have to redefine who I am to find a job that matches that. This is who I am. I align myself with my own power, my own voice, and either it matches for you or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, blessings to you. We both good. I'm not mad, and
Yeah.
I'm happy at the end of the day.
So, because you're in the entertainment industry, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, when you keep adapting like that, how often does someone who just keeps adapting experience anxiety and depression?
All the time.
All the time. Like I think of
All
Tim
the
Carrey,
time.
where he talks about this, and if you guys want to, we'll plug the video, but he talks about, like, he's like, even Jim Carrey, that is a character I play. And so when I have no character at my home, when I'm by myself and I hate me, that's a problem. And I'm like, I had no idea of all people would experience something like that. So that depression and anxiety is high. And would you say that it's related back to like not knowing who you really are and being able
Oh,
to
100%. 100%. I mean, as a human being, I think our natural desire is to live out our lives and to be happy and to be at peace with who we are. And if you don't know who you are, you'll never be at peace, right? And so especially if you think about back to your preteens, right? You were still trying to figure out who you were in this world. Well, once you leave your zip code, your world just got a lot bigger. And once you begin to travel and you get into this thing called life and you become an adult, right? Everybody is throwing their stuff on you. The people that you meet, the job that you're working on, everybody wants you to be this thing. Show up for me this way, show up for me that way. It is impossible to show up for anybody in any way unless you are completely full yourself. You
Yes.
cannot pour from an empty pitcher. You can't do it. And so the only way your pitcher will be full is to, first of all, know what was meant for your pitcher, right? If you got a Kool-Aid pitcher, don't put beer in it. Like, you have to know what goes in your glass. And then you have to figure out the kind of glass that I am, can what I'm pouring inside hold it? If it's too hot, it might shatter the glass. If it's too cold, it's just all of these things you have to figure out, and only you can do it because you are in your head 24 hours a day. And so it is so important, no matter what journey you are starting out on, you got to know that you know who you are. Because my goodness, the world will try to label you. They will look at you, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you act, and they will have all of these things and these expectations of who they think you are. And my message to anybody is, do not show up in any other position other than yourself, grounded and rooted.
And people will accept you for who you are when you're around the right people. There are going to be people who are like, yeah, you're not for us. And it's like, okay, cool, whatever. But there are people out there that are for us and are like, hey, come up and show up as you. And I think that, like, we all lost ourselves, I feel like, in our early 20s, because we're like, we'll be this chameleon over here and that chameleon over here. And it's exhausting to be everything for everybody. And like you said, like
Well,
I need to know if I'm Kool-Aid or if I'm beer. Like whatever it is, that's
that's
cool.
right.
I can't.
That's right.
Like,
That is
but
true.
I don't like beer. Why would I
Without
drink
question.
beer?
And it took me to become a full-grown adult to realize that you can't expect other people to be comfortable with who you really are at your core, if you yourself are not comfortable. So
Yeah.
if you're not comfortable, you'll try to become that chameleon and be all of these things. And so now, as humans, we look for things that we can trust, things that we can rely on, right? So if I feel like, oh, she's not really comfortable in her skin, then all of a sudden I'm thinking that I can't trust her. I don't know if I really want to be around her. Now you may look at it like they don't really like me. No, they don't like who you're showing up as, because they know clearly energy speaks to energy. So if you are uncomfortable with your energy and not sure who you want to be, then I'm uncomfortable with establishing a relationship with you, because you're this way today and tomorrow you may be somebody else, and you are not about to walk off with all of my stuff. I'm not
No.
going to do it. My secrets,
Yeah.
my stories, my memories, my good times, my money. No, I need to know what I'm investing in.
Yeah, a friend of mine once said, because we were talking about just like how people handle us when life hits. And she said, like, if I leave a conversation with that gut feeling of like, don't like how I felt, she does not continue the relationship of telling them all of it. Cause she's just like, why am I gonna be like, here's my life, here's my
Yeah.
access to everything, my money, my time, my energy. And you like, I left that with that gut feeling of like this, something's not this, there's no connection in the sense of
No.
trust. And for me, like I will be an open book, but there are times that I'm like, why do
Yeah.
you want that access?
Yeah.
That's weird to me when someone's like,
Yeah.
well, why don't you tell me this? I'm like, why do you need to know? I'm
What's
good.
the end game?
What's
Yeah.
the game?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
but
you're
it
right.
just
I mean, to me, it's a lot like money. Like if I put my money in a bank, I want to know, well, why should I choose this bank? How will you handle my money? Will it be a wise investment? Will I get a return on my investment? And how much will that return be? If I'm pouring more in than I'm getting out, I already know from the very beginning it's a bad investment and I'm not going to do it.
and there is no what goes through my head. I'm like, if you're in a relationship and you're giving friendship, relationship, whatever, you're giving all of yourself to someone and they're just like always taking from you. What like
Mhm.
it's not going to get better because you keep giving. It's actually going to get worse because you're going to be
It
like,
is
how
going
come
to
I
get
show up
worse.
for you and you are not showing up for me at all? Like I just asked you to hang out and you can't find like no. And I think I know my background's foster care and guardianship. With my siblings, there was a situation where a friend was like, I need you to handle my anxiety, but I'm not going to be there for you. And like, this is too much for me. But that relationship was never the same because it was like,
Mhm.
why? Like if you couldn't handle me when it was chaotic and bad and I was there for you, but you couldn't be there for me, like I can't trust that you're going to stay the next time some life hits.
Oh,
And
without question. I have a
no
hard
question.
and fast rule that I live by. And that is, I look at my life like I am a performer called Prince.
I love it.
Not really, but I am a performer, right? And so when you come into my life, you are coming to my show.
Mm,
Now, the ticket price of admission is based on, and where you sit is based on how much you pay for your ticket. If you come into my life and you are giving me general admission standards, then you're going to be in the balcony because you're getting what you're giving. Now, if you are a VIP in my life and you pay the VIP price, that means coming to see about me. That means checking in and making sure I'm all right. That means, you're giving and I'm giving and it's a symbiotic relationship. Baby, you are front row every show, backstage passes, all of that. But the minute, and listen, the tickets are non-refundable, non-transferable, all of that. And I have the right to change your seat. If I realize now that, you initially bought a VIP ticket, but now you're giving me general admission relationship vibes, then I'm going to have to take that ticket and move you. The usher will kindly pick you up and lead you up to the balcony. I'll never throw you out of the show. I'll always be there for you because that's the humanness in me. And I think there is something about um my abandonment issues from being in the foster care system. I think the human side of me is always and forever going to show up for people. It's just that you may not get the red carpet treatment, but I'm never going to leave you by the side of the road. You know, I might drop you off on the side of the road further down the street, but I
Made
won't
me
leave
mad
you
and I
out
said, get
there.
out of my car.
Yeah, correct. You might, I won't leave you in the desert. I'll, take you closer to town. So I really live by that, and it has worked for me.
So I think because, in my head, I'm like, yes, it sounds so good. And then my abandonment issues come up here. How would you walk me through the good reasons why we don't just give access to everybody at full fold all of the time? Because in my head, in my emotions, I'm like, but I don't want to be insensitive or rude, and that's my abandonment issue coming in, where it's like, I don't want to be alone at the end of the day. I'll accept anything rather than nothing. So how would you walk someone through something like that? Because I know someone's listening thinking these things. Like, how would you walk them through to be like, baby girl, like, or guy, like whoever you are listening, it's not worth it. Like, how would you walk us through that?
So for me, my abandonment issues come up and are reflected in a different way. Very early on, because of my abandonment issues, I learned self-preservation. And I would learn language later to help me better define that from the airline pilots. And that is, put your own oxygen mask on first. And then you are better able to serve those around you. So for me, what I do is I allow people to tether to me, but far from me because of my abandonment issues, right? So I keep people at a safe distance to make sure that they don't do anything that could harm me, because I still have work to do. I feel as though since the first half of my life was not as ideal as I would like it to be, now that I am grown and I have control, I have a voice that I did not have before. I have age and wisdom on my side. I have courage and all of those things that I didn't have before. I feel that I am strong enough now that I call the shots. And so for me, it is, I quickly decide where you're going to be in the concert of my life.
Yeah.
And so, if I feel as though this could be a little tricky, you might walk out on me, which is what I feel for me in my life. As my mother gave me up at birth, I feel like she walked out on me. And so that fear is always there of, they're probably going to leave. They're probably going to leave. So everything for me is about self-preservation. So I dial into how much emotionally I want to be invested in a person. What will I do? What won't I do? And again, that is all based on the ticket that you have. You go to a show and this ticket came with a poster and this one came with backstage passes. This didn't come with nothing. This came with, you could see and then you can go home. So it really depends on that. And so I operate in that space. It's not always fair to people around me, because I know a lot of people would like to be a lot closer to me. And as I'm getting older, I'm trying to lean into the softer side of me to be a little bit more accessible when it comes to emotions and showing and being vulnerable. But it's something that I'm working on. I think we're all a work in progress. But for me, my biggest thing to anyone is still self-preservation. And that means taking care of myself first, my emotions. And sometimes that requires me to be a little selfish, because I know if I am not at my best, I don't have my best to give. So
Yeah.
even with the best intentions for those around me, I might be giving them trash because I am coming from a place of emptiness. And rather than give them trash, I'd rather give them beauty for ashes. I'd rather give them silver and gold. And I can't do that if I have not been an alchemist in my own life.
Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of people who want access to you. I mean, you do so much, and I didn't realize how much you do. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, now everything just clicked. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But I can only imagine that there are tons of people who are like, hey, come over here, Jasmine. Hey, come over here, Jasmine. Give us money, Jasmine. Give us your time, Jasmine. Give us your voice. Give us this, give us that. But there's nothing in return. And I know you're not always looking for things in return, But what that does is it dries you out very quickly to where you do have to say yes to this, no to that. And that's where, like, I'm the same way where I'm like, I block people and I'm just like, let's see, let's test you. Let's test you a little bit. Like, I'll show up full heartedly for you, but I'm not expecting anything in return. But when there is that give and take and then just a complete wash away from that friendship, I go, ooh, okay,
Right.
something's happened here. And it's my defense mechanism because I'm like, whew, and I'm like, grace upon grace, but there's only so much you can give, especially when you understand that there is now this use of your money and your time where they're just, I'm only showing up so you pay for stuff. And I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I want a real friendship. And I think that a lot of people struggle with relationships in general, just all of us. But when you've gone through, especially abandonment at such a young age, it is that, like, I'm waiting for people to walk out. I'm waiting for this to happen.
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna
Well,
that.
I'm not going to lie that, I mean, complete transparency. I was that way for a very long time, but I was also miserable. And so again, it brought me right back around to self-preservation and
Yeah.
not just enough to survive, but I want to be happy in
Yeah.
my survival. I want to be well adjusted. And so for me, it really required me to say, okay, instead of always being in the position of wait, let me be in the position of wonder. Let me wonder about the world like I did when I was a kid. And let me
Yes.
get out and then wander around to find things that give me joy, things that ignite my passion, as opposed to waiting. Because at the end of the day, you got so many summers. And if you're spending all of those summers waiting, right? Because what you got, if you're lucky, 85 summers. Well, damn. I mean, if you
Yes.
really look at it like that, you're like, well, if I spent, 25 of those summers waiting,
Yeah.
I'm on the downside. And so my thing is, okay, well, how many summers do I have left? And so in
Yeah.
that period of, I don't want to wait, I want to live. So I don't believe in waiting for people to leave. I live and I hope that they don't, but
Yeah.
I'm going to be enjoying myself. And if you're along for the ride,
Cool.
hallelujah. And if you're
Yeah.
not, we'll see you by and by.
Well,
That's
it's
how I
like
look at it.
I told my husband because I was struggling a little bit, and I was like, I know COVID really hurt a lot of people just because it was isolation and people are still in that and trying to come out of that. And I said, I'm just tired of waiting for people. So I'm just gonna go and invite people. If
That's
they
it.
show, they show. If they don't, that's okay. They don't, I'm not
Right.
expecting anything. But I need to live. Like, I'm
Yeah.
isolating myself into my home 7 days a week with a 9-month-old daughter who I want her to experience life. And I don't want her to just survive. I want her to thrive. And you said it. You said, I was tired of just kind of surviving. And you want to thrive into, like, I want to experience life. Knowing we only have 85 summers, I'm like, dang, I need to, like, not just live
It
in the
puts it in
summer.
perspective, right?
I
It
need to
puts it in
live.
a totally
Yeah.
different perspective. And I
You
think if
change
we
your
really,
thoughts.
yeah, I think if you really began to look at it that way instead of looking at it in years, because I think in years you think days and all, but if you think about summers, and from the moment you were a child, your earliest memory, the thing you remember most is takes so long for summer to get here and then it goes so fast. And
Yes.
so I look at aging and life in the view of summers. And so my thing is, at the end of my last summer, I want to be able to say that I stretched my skin thin. I did everything I thought I could do. I did things I probably shouldn't have done. I did things that people could only dream of. I want to try it all. Otherwise, what is the point of having a healthy, working, strong, vibrant body and creative mind and not using all of it to its fullest potential? Let
Mm.
me ask you this. Would you ever get a pair of shoes that cost you $1,000 and only wear them once?
No, I would be
You
like,
can wear them all the time.
stuff $1,000 for shoes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be wearing them every day, all day. I'm gonna be cleaning the house with them. I'm like, but
But that's my
the
point.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. You wouldn't buy the dopest pair of jeans and only wear them once. If you've ever purchased one item that costs you a lot of money, people are like, didn't you have that jacket on yesterday? I sure did, and I'm going to have it on tomorrow.
I
To
had it on
me,
every day.
you got to look at life that way, because what you purchased from a materialistic standpoint will not last. It will break down, it will deteriorate, it will die, right? Your body and your life is kind of the same way. So
Mm,
if you would cherish a jacket, a pair of shoes, a necklace or whatever, that you've purchased, a car that you put everything into, I can't understand why you wouldn't think that way about life. Something that you
yeah.
don't. I know these shoes behind me will be here in the morning when I wake up, but I don't know if I'll wake up to see them. So when you look at it that way, it's like, you know what? You better get to moving because tomorrow is not promised. I
No.
don't know what's going to happen. I got to get out and start living. So I don't have time to wait. Okay. I'm not going to do that. What you can do is lace up a pair of these sneakers and catch up with me. I'll see you down the road. That's my thing. So I don't wait for people to catch up with me. I hope they can keep up with me. Um, and I live. It's such a blessing to be here in my life. I've watched my adoptive parents die. I've watched my biological mother die. I watched, biological grandparents pass on. And so I know the fragility of life. And so I want to live it.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
waiting is not in my vocabulary. Only
No.
on my food and only on for a good parking spot. But other than that, we don't wait around here. We don't wait.
I heard someone say they worked in hospice and they said, every patient that I've ever had has never once said, I wish I worked harder. I wish I made more. It was, I wish I lived more. I wish I took that
Yeah.
vacation. I wish I spent time with people. And I think that's the problem, is that we get into this like, well, if I want to be successful, I have to grind until whenever the day is done. And it's like, you will always work. But if you're not living, you can't redo that. We're only this age once, and that's it. Like we get one
That's
time
it.
at this year and that's
Absolutely.
it. And it's like we're changing biologically every 10 years, but it's not in the way that people think. Like we're not just going to wake up one day with $1 million in our bank account. Like, yeah, we have to work for that to get to go on the vacations, but the work is not the living. We spend 40
It's
hours of
not the
work a
living.
week in our jobs, if not more, and we're not living. And then we get home and we're too tired. And it's like, what are you doing, like you said, to refuel your cup? And if you're not doing that, you're not living. I love that so much. Do you have anything else to say on this before we move to the next question? Because this is
Oh
so
no, move on, girl. I would
awesome.
talk
We
you to
can
death.
stay
And you have to
here.
move me along
I'm
because I will
like,
keep talking.
feed me. Put this into my brain because sometimes we forget. Okay, how do you define success?
How do I define success? That's a tough one because I never really stopped to think if I am successful, or if something is successful, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's such a finite word. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like, for me, it is, did I meet my goals today? Did I meet my goals at the end of the year? Did I um did I accomplish a few things? I would rather use the term accomplish as opposed to success, because success is really relative and subjective to whatever you're talking about. I may feel something is successful, but for someone else, their definition of it might look decidedly different. And they may say, well, I actually thought that was a flop. And I'm like, oh, you did? I'm sorry. I thought we won. And so I don't look at it cut and dry like that. The other thing is, I I'll tell you a very quick story that taught me that. When I was younger, and I'm still young. I'm still young. But when I was younger, I played softball. I was very good. I mean, I was very good. I even had a softball scholarship. I was that good. And I
mhm.
remember I played on a team and I had a coach who was really hard on us. And I'm so glad that he was. But I remember during the game, I caught a ball that most would have found to be uncatchable.
Mm.
And I was so proud of the success of catching that ball that I stopped and celebrated because it was a success. I caught it. I tried. I did it. I was like, oh my God. While I was busy celebrating that success, two runners tagged up and they won the game. My coach benched me for the next game because he said, you celebrated too soon and you cost us the game. So for me, when I look at success, I say, don't spend so much time thinking about success. Number one, it will never be what you think it is. It will never, I have to repeat that. It will never be what you think it is. It won't feel like you think it will. It just won't. Other people will look at you and say, oh my God, that was so great. You're so successful. You will go home at night and feel like a loser. You'll feel like, I haven't really accomplished anything. I think that imposter syndrome will always chase you. And I think, especially for those who are products of the foster care system, just my opinion, I think we spend so much time trying to be validated and be valuable and be considered of value because someone threw us away or put us in a position where it looked like we were not valuable. And so I think we're always chasing success. And I don't like to chase things. So I don't really look at that word. I think it can be a self-inflicted gunshot. So I don't even think about that. My thing is, okay, this is on my list. Let me mark this off. Let me just keep marking things off. Just keep moving. Don't worry about the crowd cheering. Don't worry about whether they're calling you successful, because when they put that on you, they can take it off. And there will come a day that the cheers won't be as loud, and you'll start to evaluate yourself based on, did they say I was successful?
Yes.
What are they writing about me? Are they cheering for me? Because there will be many days that the only cheer that you will hear will be your own voice. And so
Yes.
I can't really define success for you because I hope
I
that's
love
not
that. So this is a trick. I guess it's a trick question, but
It is.
I really love this because of the fact that when we have heard success in the foster care system, we heard the statistics. Only this many graduate, only this much, and this many get this much money. And that is such a, like you said, a gunshot wound to our both legs, to where they're just like, if you're not in this statistic, you're a failure.
That's it.
When I was going through my PhD program, I had a goal of 3.5 years to get it done, which is pretty much unheard of. Very, very small, very big goal in a very small period of time. I did my dissertation within a full year with working with my chair, which nationally it takes about 5 to 7 years. The problem was I ran through the goal so fast of being like, this is success getting done in 3.5 years, that I forgot to celebrate when I was done. And it's still 2 years later, as a foster youth, being like, oh, I graduated high school. I never stopped to celebrate that. I had a job, never stopped to celebrate that. I'm a mother of my siblings and my daughter. Didn't really celebrate that because I was looking for like the cash, the items, the people cheering, that I forgot to cheer for myself for a really long time. And it actually is kind of funny because the day I was like celebrating when I defended, I was like, oh, thank God it's over. And someone called me and they're like, so what's next? What are you going to do with this now? And I was like, can I breathe? Because I went through nonstop schooling and it was, people were just like, come on, like, where do we cheer? Like, this wasn't cheerable. And I was like, hold on. So you didn't cheer for me, but I'm going to cheer for myself. And I love that you said, like, the cheers won't be as loud. And it's so true with people who enter and exit the foster care system, is that we're looking for that validation. We're looking for people to cheer for us. And there are multiple times in our adult life, we are not going to get it. We're going to be told like, so you have a bank account, you have a house. Okay. Yeah. And it's like, it's that, like, I've had people do that. They're like, okay, so when are you going to F this up? And when are you going to fall? And I'm like, I'm not going to fall. I'm fine. No, I'm waiting for you to fall. And it's like, you have to cheer yourself on more. And so asking this question, it's like, we all define it differently. Maybe it's accomplishments is how we define it instead of success. It's emotionally being in a good place, or being the parent of our children, or owning something that we never thought we would own before. For me, it was like being able just to swipe my freaking debit card without it being denied. Like, like that, it's embarrassing when you go to the store and every time you're just like, oh, please go through. Right. I'm finally like, my husband said when we first started dating, I'm always like, how much is the check? And he's always like, no, don't worry about it. I'm like, how much is it? Yeah, because I wasn't asking to be nosy. I was like, oh, please go through. Please go through.
Yeah.
Now he's like, I realized like a year ago, you stopped asking how much the check was. And I'm like, because that wasn't defining for me anymore.
Correct.
Not that I started, like, yes, I started making more, but it's not about that. It's just like, that's not my worry anymore. I know, I
Right.
trust that that money is in there because I know
Yeah.
it's in there, but there was that fear before of like, they're going to know, they're going to know it's not going to go through. So I
Listen,
love that you said,
I've always thought that success is for other people. Accomplishments are for us. That's
ooh,
what it is. It is either for your family, your friends, or other people to see. It's really for others. But
yes,
accomplishments are really about you and how you feel on the inside. Because again, successes are things that they print on the front of magazines or, on billboards or on TV. You see all of these things, but you'll learn very quickly as an adult that
even with
that
jobs. Oh,
man, it's
let's talk
really it's
about
true.
evaluations because you do that in jobs is you do a self audit of what you've done in that year, and then your manager or your boss does an audit of you. And I don't know how many times I never came in and they're like, yeah, you did all these great things, but also here's other things. And you're like, how did I not get 5s out of 5s? How did I
Yep.
get 2s? Like, and you're right. Like, absolutely. There's moments where you're like, I had a success this year that was a great year. And someone else is like, well, actually, I thought that wasn't that great. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, so but your question and your follow-up is like, when are you gonna look at your accomplishments and still validate yourself and cheer yourself on? Because people
Yeah.
won't.
They will not do
That's
it
hard.
without
Oh,
question.
oh,
Without
that's
question.
hard stuff. But it's true. And I love that you said that because I don't think a lot of us would remember that. We have to be the person to cheer ourselves on sometimes. And like you said, the cheers will not be as loud. And then I want to ask the follow-up is like, are you doing things to look for people to cheer for you? Or are you just doing things to live versus
I do things to live
I love
because what I also have learned, and I learned this in a very hard lesson a long time ago, and I am so grateful to say that I am the kind of person you've only got to teach me one time. I learn lessons quickly, and I'm a Scorpio. I'll hold that lesson for life. I'm like, got it, noted, done. I learned a long time ago that people, their cheers, their validations, all of those things are fleeting. They're like grasping at the wind. They come at you hard and fast, and just as quickly as they came, they will go. And so, if you consider standing out in your backyard waiting for the wind to blow, to me, that is a lot like waiting for people to cheer for you. And
Mhm.
so, again, going back to my summers, I don't have time to wait for the wind. I'm not going to chase the wind. The wind will eventually chase me.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't do things for other people. I don't. And
Mm,
and if I did, I would probably be, I don't know. I mean, I can't prove a negative. I maybe more people would like me, maybe my status would be higher, but I don't care about those things because again, I know how quickly life can be snuffed out. I know um, I've seen so much sadness
mm,
that for me, I would much rather be a happy, well-adjusted individual, able to take care of myself in the way that I like to be taken care of, take care of those people around me that I love, family and friends, and I'm good. I mean,
um,
as long as and I love how I cheer.
I love that.
Nobody cheers better than me. I'm loud, I'm offbeat, and
Oh,
it is fun. And so my cheer, it is the best for my soul because my soul knows my voice. It knows what I need. So I know if I just need a simple hand clap, I know how to do that. I know if I need a praise dance, I can do that. I know if I need a good song in my I can. So I know me better than anybody. If their cheers are just icing on the cake, but I'm the cake, baby. Me.
there you
This
go.
right here.
I like that you said though, you said that when it comes to other people, you said something and I'm like, I want to hone in on this a little bit.
All
You
right.
said, well, maybe more people would like me or I would have, be higher up. I don't think so. Because if we are chasing and being people pleasers, we're just running in 1,000 different directions that we never even discover ourselves. So would we be where we're at if we were just focused on everybody else and people pleasing them? I don't think so. I think it
Well,
took what you said, kind of step back and say, I'm just going to go and do me, just and live.
no, you're absolutely right. I think for me, the time and the era in which I came up, it required that kind of targeted, very strategic planning and focus. I think now with social media, they love train wrecks. They love you being all over the place. They love you being unsteady and shakable. It's that kind of thing. And if you look at social media and all of the things and all of the characters who are popular, I call them characters because I have to believe to my core that a lot of these people are really not like this in real life.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it, people run to them and they create, this mass following, and you see them everywhere, and they're placed up on these pedestals, and then eventually there's the burnout that comes and the great fall. And so I do believe that if I were more fragmented and chaotic and doing all of these things and these different, then I probably would have that, but I think it would quickly fade, and then I'd be right back to the person that I described initially, and that
Yeah.
is not knowing who I am. Because now that I've been all these characters, I played all of these roles, I don't know who I am anymore. Where is my true North Star? I would know. And so I would rather go through life being very, very sure of who I am,
Yes.
knowing the direction that makes me happy, and knowing that when I get there, I will show up as my true, authentic self. And if there's not a crowd to cheer me the way they do at the end of at a marathon, I will be cheering loud. And I love the sound of my laughter. And that's enough for me.
I love that though, but it's so true, because I think sometimes we run toward wanting to be everything, and there are so many characters who are out there on social media where it's like they're the current thing that is idolized by people. I shouldn't say thing, the current person who's idolized by people, but it's not like, I think of how far they fell. I think of people like Britney Spears' story. People didn't really know her and know what she was going through. And now they're finding out and they're like, oh my God, Aaron Carter, think of the things he went through. And I'm like, this poor, this little person who just needed to be held as a child. People were elevating him up. And then it was like, okay, now there's the drug abuse, there's the people abuse, and no one protected them. I would rather protect myself than be like, you know what? Fame is so much more important than being holistically me and authentically me and whole by the end of this. I would rather not have a large following. I would rather just be me and know who I am. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to fall like that. And then people can say, you showed up as you. Okay, large following or not, people come and go. People like you, people don't. Cool. People want you at the table. People say, hey, bye. Like, I'll create my own table. I'm good. But I will not be good at the end of the day if I don't know who I am. That part is where I'm like, I'm going to learn from other people's kind of dumb tax. A friend calls it that. He says it's dumb tax, where you learn from other people's mistakes, or you learn from other people's wisdom of where they're like, hey, I fell hard because I didn't know who I was. We've heard people say, if I knew who I was, I wouldn't be in this position. I wouldn't have been used and abused because I wasn't chasing people. I was just saying, you know what? I'm going to keep living in a healthy way, and I'm going to go this direction, and you can show up with me or not. And that to me, like, I'm taking that wisdom and be like, hey, yo, no, I'd rather not fall and hurt myself just for a follow count, or for people who want to use or abuse me in that way. Like, I'd rather it be authentic, of people like, hey, I don't care that you like to cheer loud. I'm cheering loud with you, just in my own way. And I'm like, I'd rather have that. Rather have that than people that can't even change a little, because that drives you crazy. Like, it drives you nuts when you don't know who you are. Okay, so last question. If you had any advice to give, what would that be to anybody if they want to go into journalism, TV entertainment, documentary writing, or speech, or just being authentically them? What advice would you give? Those are all vastly different, I know.
I think it goes back to a lot of what we were talking about. I would say the first thing is be careful what you ask for. and be intentional with the ask. Because
Mm,
I think a lot of people want to do a certain thing because they believe fame is going to be attached to it, and with that is going to come a lot of money. That is not always the case. You
yeah.
could be known by a lot of people and be struggling to pay your bills. Be careful for asking that, I want everyone to like me. Well, what comes with that is now you have to do things to get them to continue to like you. And what does that look like? And now how much of your time does that take? So I would say be very intentional with your ask, and also be figure out exactly who you are and what you want, not what someone told you you should be, not what is popular at the moment, but what really brings you joy. And then being honest with yourself about, do I have the talent for that? Do I have the work ethic that is required for that? Um, and do I have the what I call stick to itiveness to stay on the road when you're on it by yourself? Because I think a lot of people believe that when you get to a certain level of your career, that it's, a lot of parties and everybody's around, and oh my God, they know all these people. And it's just, and I will be the first to tell you, I know a lot of people, and a lot of those people are lonely
Uh,
because
yeah.
you spend a lot of time by yourself, either by default because of the circles that you travel in, or because what you do, the amount of work that it requires. You're
Um,
always on the go, you're always busy. So your relationships will suffer. So you have to surround yourself with people who understand the type of work that it takes to stay there after you get there. And everybody ain't built for it.
no.
Everybody's not built for it. And so, that's why I say, as long as you know who you are and you believe in it. And of course, if you do believe in it, always make sure your yes is louder and stronger than their no.
Because we will face those no's.
Woo!
And I feel like as you get more, I would assume, maybe not no, but I assume that as you get bigger and your name gets bigger, the no's do happen a little bit more. And
Mhm.
there are they have a lot more weight there with that rejection versus like no from McDonald's is not a big deal to me. But if it was like, if I, I've thought about it, pitching my story and having someone do a documentary or a movie on it, that no would feel so horrible. And I'd be like, forget it. I'm never doing this again. And it, like you
Yeah,
said,
and you know what though? I will say this to add to that. I have learned, I used to be scared of no's.
mm,
I just like I used to be scared to get fired. Who
yeah,
fire me? I mean, don't, but don't. Let me
I
not put
don't
that in the
want you to
universe because I
fire
love
me.
what I do. I love what I do. However, there would that I think the fear of being fired can paralyze you so much that you end up doing things that you said you never would.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? I would never do this. I would never do that. But then I don't want to lose my job, so I do it. I
Mm,
think the same can be true about being afraid of rejection and no's. I look at those things now as protection. That
mm,
no had to be protecting me from something. Maybe I wasn't supposed to do that deal because a better deal is around the corner. Or maybe I wasn't supposed to do that deal because this production company is going under. Or maybe I wasn't supposed to do that deal because my story isn't quite ready yet. I mean, there's so many ways to look at it. And if you look at it through through a prism,
mm,
multifaceted, as opposed to, or in one direction, right? I
yeah.
think it will change your perspective a lot, because a lot of the no's that I got, I'm so grateful for now, because
Mm,
it would have been a disaster. I wouldn't be on this path. And the other thing is, as you climb up the chain, that no that you hear came from you. Nope, not doing that. That no, no, thank you. No, no, no. I won't be doing that. No, thank you. You'll realize that now, as you step into your power and to who you are, that power of no is coming from you as well. Because a lot of opportunities will come your way, but they may not be the best for you.
I love that because I think we look at no as like it's the end. I was let go of during COVID. They did a mass layoff, and I felt so rejected because I had been working so hard. So I was like, why would they let me go? And it actually pushed me to what I do now of like, go create your own table. And I was like, oh, and it actually pushed me into like going back with foster care and being like, let me tell my story. This is so important. There's not a lot of us doing it, but it wasn't to be like, let me go do it so that, it was more of like, I want people to hear that this isn't the end for us. And I think that when we look at a no, we look at it and be like, it's going to destroy me. There's nothing outside of this that I can do. But you're saying like, it is actually the redirection and our protection. It was better that I didn't say yes to that. And now when you added that, where it's like, you're going to start saying no, but if you don't know what you stand for and what you want and who you want to partner with, because that is a representation, who you partner with is a representation of who you are. And
absolutely.
if we're not willing to know who that is with us, how are we going to say no? Like, there's things that I'm like, I love what you guys are doing. That's just not where I want to partner with in this next year. And that's okay. But then you find what you want to partner with and you're like, oh, I want to say yes to that. And that allows you to have the space to say yes to what you want to say yes to. And
that's right.
It's not the end if we say no. They'll find someone who's more in that direction, and that's okay. And maybe we know someone else, so we could say, hey, this person fits this better than I would, but we don't have to say yes to everything. And I think that, I think of like,
and sometimes if you look at the no, like a red light, that no is giving you the opportunity to stop, to reset, to look around to your left, to your right, and prepare yourself to move when the light is green. But if you don't get that stop, you're constantly whizzing and you haven't even had the opportunity to stop and reassess where you are. Does it line up with who you are? Yes. Are you in alignment and equally yoked with the people around you? Going back to my analogy about the concert, let's go through and do a little inventory about the people around me and make sure that I have the people in the front row who deserve to be there. And if there are no no's in your life and no red lights, when do you get the opportunity to do inventory? You don't. So those no's are actually blessings. You have to retrain your brain to think, this is not a rejection from the universe. Baby, this is a blessing. I am apparently in need of a reset. So let me stop. Let me bring all these people around. Let me go through my list of friends and see who has shown up for me and who is not. Let me go through and see who has taken more than they have given. Let me also make sure that I am in tune and in check with myself, because just because you know who you are doesn't mean you don't get off center every now and then. Everybody knows you have that picture in your house, and every now and then you're like, nah, I know I straightened that picture up. What happened? Life.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you like that picture, you need a little bump in the right direction. That bump might come in the form of a no. So I'll take that now.
You need. I love it, because that's not what we think. We don't think of it like the rest of who maybe we need rest, maybe we need a reset, maybe we've been going in the wrong direction, or the partnership ended with whoever it was and you're just like, oh, they're going in a different direction, and that direction is not one I wanted to go in, and that's okay.
That is more than okay.
As
a matter of fact, let me go ahead and stop thinking that your no has something to do with me. It has. I'm still fabulous.
Yes.
I mean, I'm still great. I don't know what you were looking for. Maybe you needed red cups and I got blue ones.
Yes.
So when you said no, it's because but my blue cups are still dope. They still hold the same amount of liquid. They still do everything they need to do at the top level. So it's just not what you were looking for. So I never look at it like it is a rejection. Now I used to, but I think that falls right in line with, when you come from the background that we come from, it is almost like trying to fill a cup with a hole in the bottom. You're just pouring in, and it's just, you got to mend that hole, and it takes a lot of time. But
it's like just using that analogy, because I feel like that's so great, is like a fisherman would not go out into sea to catch fish with a hole in the bottom of the boat. They'd sink.
Yeah, he better not.
They would repair. They would wait. They would say, this needs to take priority. And I was listening to a podcast. Her name's Jasmine Star. So I kind of always plug her because she's an entrepreneur and like she gets me to think. But they had a guest speaker on, and he was talking about sometimes we're in a position where we can't, maybe it's us, we can't take what we're doing to the next level, or maybe, you know, we have someone in our life in that position that's not really able to help us take our business to that next level. And it's okay to say, let's have this hard conversation to say, are you in the right position? Actually, no, I don't feel like I am. Okay, can we create that for you? Or can we plug you with someone who can help take, like you can help take to that next level? And I sat back and I was kind of like, okay, this can be applied everywhere. Am I really in the right positions to help take other people to the next level? No, but do I know someone who can be? Maybe they should partner together instead, because I'm not taking them to that. But also too, like if I'm wanting to go to the next level and people are like, no, you can't go there, we can't go there. And it's like, no, this is the direction I want to go in. I can't have them in my circle speaking to me like that. I need the people who are like, you are going to go in this direction. We support you and we'll go as long as it's not off of a cliff. But if I have people speaking me off the cliff, there is a problem of who I have around me. So I think about that all the time, where it's like, it's okay to ask that question. Are you in the right position to take yourself to that next level? And if not, what I did beforehand is not going to take me to that next level. I need to change to that, but I need to know where my no's are so I don't fill up my calendar just to fill it, just to be busy. I mean,
listen, activity versus accomplishment. You could be doing a lot of things and accomplishing absolutely nothing.
Ooh, activity. Say that again.
Activity versus accomplishment.
Yes.
You're running around, but you ain't doing nothing.
And we all know people like that, where you're like, you were in the same place you were 10 years ago, but they're always busy. And you're like, how? Like, you haven't increased financially, you haven't increased emotionally, physically, and you feel stuck, and you're just like, but I'm doing all the things. And I'm like, the right action leads to the right results, not the wrong actions. So activity versus accomplishments. Like you have to look at it. I love that. All right.
And sometimes you need that no for that either someone gave you or that you are giving to someone. No, I don't think I should go out today because I really need to focus and reassess and realign myself because I'm in the same position. Or someone says no to you, you know, this position is not for you. Okay, well, let me see, where am I going wrong? Maybe I'm not supposed to be in that direction. So rather than doing all of this crazy activity of trying to be everything and just, you know, doing all of these different things, reset yourself. Get in tune with who you are and align yourself. And it's okay. I think we're in such a society now where, you know, everything is in 10 and 15-second bites. The algorithm on Instagram and on social media, period, is like everything is quick and fast. Okay, that's great for entertainment purposes. But when it comes to your life, it is okay to take a break and stop. Now, I'm not saying break down and stay down for a year, but I'm saying take the time that you need to reevaluate your life because it's that important. Because again, wrapping this all up, that goes back to your summers. How many do you have left? So do you have a year to take off? Do you have 6 months to sit down and if not, okay, well, let's get it done in a month. Let's get it done in a week, whatever it takes to unpack the whole bag, take everything out and say, how much room do I really have in here? And what do I really need to take with me? And something that needs to come out might be a friend or two, might be a habit. It might be that you need to add a habit to replace another one. There are a ton of things that you need to think about when you're packing your bag, when you're ready to travel in life. And I mean that metaphorically, like where you're trying to go. What's in your bag? What's in your toiletry bag? What shoes did you pack? Do they make sense for this journey that you're on? If not, you need to unpack that bag, baby, and reevaluate before you get to TSA, because they're going to tell you this is too heavy to make that journey.
And it goes back to that reset. But I keep thinking, I keep, because you said bags and shoes, and I was like, I keep getting this. There's someone out there who's going to be listening to this who is taking the trash from their old bag and putting it in the new bag. And the trash is literally crumbs, things that you don't need. And it's like, clean the bag out, reset. And like you said, grab the right shoes, the right clothes, the right things that you need for this journey. And that's okay to do. And I don't think we do that enough. Like we don't reevaluate and reset. And I'm like sitting here, I'm like, dang, I would have saved a lot of time, a lot of energy if I just paused instead of getting mad over the no and been like, this was good. And I'm seeing that now, but I've had to listen to people tell me that. And I'm like, okay, the no's are good, you guys. Like we need those no's, and we need to say those no's so that we can reset, redirect, and restart on something. And that's a good thing. That's so healthy.
That's a good thing.
I love that.
That's a good
Thank you
thing.
so much, Jasmine. I'm going to be like stalking you online and sharing all your stuff, but this was so great for us to hear.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I could not wait to do this. I was super excited. And again, my apologies about being
No,
late. You know, it's you try to, the time management can be difficult, but I try to fit everything in because for me, it really is about too much given, much required. I am so blessed and highly favored, and I have been so lucky in my life that, you know, I know for sure that, you know, the things that I do may not live, you know, and have a legacy after I'm gone, but I am hoping that the things that I say to people, and hopefully the things that I have managed to instill either through someone else to them or by way of interviews and conversations like this, I hope that things like that will last a lifetime.
it's changed my thinking. So that's going to go
That's
in.
one. Yay!
That's going to go to my daughter, and I'm going to teach her that. And hopefully anyone else who's listening to this is going to be like, Jasmine, you're crazy. We learned so much from this. Because it's true. Like we need to be reminded of this. And this is just so great. And I'm so thankful that you took the time to just sit and do this with me. And I am excited for other people to hear what you have to say, because we need more people who are going to tell us these things, because most people will only tell us success is money and fame and things like that. Not sometimes the success is being able to say yes and no. And that to me, taking away going, whew, I'm going to count my summers and I'm going to live in my summers. So
live them, girl. Live them, and teach your daughter to do the same.
Yes.
No problem.
If
Like,
you
girl,
ever
need anything,
85. Yeah.
just hit me up.
I will. I definitely will. I'm going to stop
question.
recording here.
We want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Foster Greatness. We equip foster youth by connecting communities and empowering individuals on their journey. We provide workforce development, master classes, travel abroad experiences, and individual and community support for foster communities. If you're interested in learning more, please visit fostergreatness.co. Thanks for joining us.